Hi everyone, this is Menz here, playing the Tier 10 British medium tank, the Centurion Action X, here in Fisherman's Bay. Now there's no artillery, which is a little bit of a benefit to me, and also not too many Tier 10 tank destroyers, but the 183mm is definitely going to be an obstacle.
Let's go!
Now I'm going to be heading over to the left side here. I want this guy to kind of get out of my way, but gonna nudge him a little bit. Gonna head over here just because there's no artillery, and Centurion Action X pretty large, and you don't want to exactly fight head on against tanks unless you're hull down and using terrain. It's very similar to the M48A1 Patton, which I will go over the differences between the two tanks after the battle, but really it's just a better M48A1 Patton in my opinion. Raw damage numbers are a little bit lower on the Centurion Action X compared to the Patton. However, in practice and in actual battles, you'll find that you'll be doing more damage with the Action X. Alright, so I didn't think I was spotted there, but nonetheless I was. The Centurion Action X, of course, not very good in the camouflage department unless you have all the crew skills for that, but being a very large tank, you'll find it's pretty difficult to not take a lot of damage in the Centurion. But that was kind of my fault for pushing up there, of course. And of course, they're doing very well in the center there. I'm not exactly sure why our Tier 10 heavy tanks decided to particularly go over there, but nonetheless they have. But since I lost a pretty good chunk of my HP, I can't exactly push up here. Better for me to just hang back and hope for something, but I'm being spotted essentially right through that little break in there, which is annoying. I have a very small shot here, but Centurion Action X, one of the most accurate tanks in the game. It's not the most accurate since the Lawful Trigger A100 holds that position, but it is up there, basically at 0.32 accuracy. But it seems like I am hitting something there. Like I can see the T30 or T30, but unfortunately not really getting much, if any, damage off on him. Fortunately though, you have tons of shells, and if you run out of shells in this, then you must have killed basically the entire enemy team. That guy was tracked, but I'll take the... Okay, never mind. I'll take a slightly better option there for a tank I can see, but since the T-54 got spotted again, pop back to him. Let's see if I can get any more shots, but really, since there's no artillery, this is why I'm a proponent of why artillery is good for the game. It really just becomes a camp fest, and basically the enemy team that pushes in and makes the largest mistake loses, and it gets a little bit dull. Right now artillery would be able to kind of weed out tanks one by one, but unfortunately since there is none, it's basically just coming down to everyone just sitting around and taking pot shots at each other, which gets a little bit boring. Alrighty now, I had a little bit of a shot there. I'm probably going to end up pushing up here though.
That one didn't go through.
Hopefully I don't end up getting nailed by something back here, which is a strong possibility. I like how just when I ended up moving, I get hit by people since they decide to push over this way. It's just unfortunate because if I stayed here, I would have not really taken any damage. This guy's... he's going gung-ho here. Unfortunately, I can't hit him over that little lip. I gotta wait for him to make a mistake. Our T-30's not exactly having issues here, so I'm more or less waiting. Not me, though. Alrighty now. I don't really have too many options, so... But since you are a very large tank, you just want to not really get yourself into too much trouble by pushing out into the open, because it's very easy to hit this tank with a large hull. You're comparable in size to the M48A1 Patton. However, with your larger hull, you find you get hit a lot more than the Patton does, and the Patton gets hit a lot. Messed that up there. I should have took the shot when I had it. Alright, now unfortunately, our other side hit a little bit of a snag. Shitballs. Why'd you do that, T-30? I can't help you now. Unfortunately, I got a little bit too aggressive there.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Need to be careful because I am one-shottable here. You pushed out a little too far, buddy.
Enemy is hit.
Still don't know where... the 183 died. I thought he was still back over here. Where are you going to end up? Yep, now... Of course, have to be a little careful here. Guy has a lot more HP than I do. T-54, the waffle tracker. Just waiting for him to close on here. Just wait one more second. Here we go. Let's distract him. We're gonna be able to take him out. Nope. Luckily he seemed to have hit my turret. Going to pop back here, of course. ISU was aiming this way, and really it's hit or miss whether we can actually kill these guys, or at least this one tank here. So I'm going to try to use the bush the best I can, but there is that ISU sitting back here. Him out with a Hesh round. Since he has low HP, better just to use your Hesh. Hesh isn't really that reliable since it's basically a high pen HE round, but keep a decent amount of them. Overall, not exactly the best game in the world, but ended up with a win. I made a mistake in the beginning by basically exposing too much of my hull, but Mastery Badge third class. Damage-wise, 2,700. Platoon 2 definitely did a very good job there. And then, as far as other stats go, I blocked 1,000 damage. Lost a bit of credit since I didn't exactly do too much, but in the end, I could have did a little bit more if I didn't pop out a little too early in the beginning. Now, the Centurion Action X, like I was saying, it's essentially a little bit better than the M48A1 Patton. as far as overall stats go. Just bringing up the Patton's stats here. As you see, the guns are pretty similar. The Centurion's gun, slightly lower rate of fire. However, the penetration, same. HE on the M48A1, 53mm, 105mm. But while the Centurion's is higher there, it's not exactly all that useful except for in extreme situations. Like even killing that Centurion in the last match with HE, really either shell would have worked. It does come in handy at some times, but it is very situational. Now, the main difference is Centurion .32 accuracy, which is one of the best values you can find in the game. Currently, only the Waffle Trigger E100 beats it, but that's being replaced with the Grill E15, and that will beat it as well. But .36 for the M48A1 is a huge negative. Even though its aiming time on the M48 is slightly lower than the Centurion's here, in reality, it's still kind of a wash because the Centurion, with its much better accuracy by 0.04 points, is basically, it's a better factor than the slightly lower aiming time on the M48. And really, since the Centurion's overall is more accurate, a slightly longer aiming time actually doesn't seem much longer because you have the better accuracy. Now, as far as armor goes, Centurion compared to M48A1, so you see the mantlet on the M48A1's kind of bigger, especially than the Centurion, since it doesn't exactly have a mantlet. But the M48, 177mm on the front, and really, it's not angled that well except for the very extreme sides of the cheeks. And this little cupola here is pretty massive. Now, once you compare that to the Centurion Action X, turret-wise, slightly thicker armor. The mantlet's basically non-existent, but really the upper part of the turret is what you're going to be focusing on in these tanks because you're going to be hulled down a lot in these tanks. And the Centurions, while not at an auto bounce angle, when you're on a hill and you're using your gun depression, you're going to be adding a decent amount of angle to that, and it will bounce a lot of shots unless you're against, say, a tier 10 TD or some premium rounds from tier 10s can punch right through it. And the cupola is much lower since this extreme little bit here at the top isn't exactly that reliable to hit. You're mainly focusing on this little part here. But overall, the tanks are similar. Higher traverse speed on a Centurion Action X, 10 meters less view range, which kind of ties into the Centurion being much larger than the M48A1 as far as the holes go. Slightly longer, but really pretty much the same height, and the turret is slightly different as far as the outline on it goes. But really, turrets are similar except for the armor scheme. But it's really the slightly larger hole you find on the Centurion that makes it a lot easier to hit. But all in all, the Centurion Action X, even though it has slightly lower DPM than the M48A1 Patton, it just works because it's slightly different armor scheme and a better overall accuracy. Hull armor, didn't really talk about that, since both tanks, you'll get some bounces off of them, but even though the M48 is slightly thicker, shell shape really doesn't lend itself very well, since when you angle it, which is the only way you're going to bounce many tier 9 and 10 shots and even 8s, when you angle it, it doesn't really gain much effective armor. But at least with the Centurion Action X, you can kind of flick your frontal hull and angle it a lot, and if they hit this upper glacis, pretty good chance it'll bounce if you get a good angle on it. So at least in that sense, the Centurion wins, but due to the larger hull, it is much easier to hit.
Let's go.
Now for a flat map like this, I'm going to basically try to shoot into the centerline road here since I'm on this spawn spot. Granted, got cut off a little bit there. Not that they're in the wrong by doing that. Flat maps are really where the Centurion kind of falls a little bit flat, where the higher DPM on the Patton does come into play. Granted, it's very minuscule, but maps like this, your large size and lack of armor is a bit of a negative.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Ooh, I actually got a bounce there. That's a little bit surprising.
Track. We're stuck here. Enemy is hit.
Alrighty now. He shot a heat round at me, which is a little surprising.
Penetrate their armor. Let's roll.
It'd be very nice if we could get some more guys over here because
Enemy armor is
the
hit.
flag, it's encounter mode, guys, and because I'm getting heat flung at me here by that object. This might turn a little bit ugly though. Luckily I have that PZ-58 kind of sitting there. Yeah, so it looks like they're gonna potentially push. Alright, so there's an M46. If he keeps pushing, I'm gonna be in a little bit of trouble. But since it seems like the field's doing alright, I'm gonna kind of leave them to that and focus a little bit more over on this side since we're losing a lot of HP over here. Let's see what's behind door number 1.
Penetration. Enemy is hit.
Looks like that ST1 was starting to push up here. At least I thought he might be pushing up. It doesn't look like that anymore. Really, you just got to be careful not to go toe-to-toe with tanks that can basically out-alpha you when you're on flat maps like this.
Enemy armor is hit.
Just trying to stay a little bit patient here since we do have people coming around the flank, and we should do pretty well. He stopped. I saw that a little bit too late, and I was already dedicated to click there. Sorry, I'm a little slow at times. Alright, he's running away. Oh shit, he actually a little bit farther than I thought. Oh, god damn it. Oops, sorry, little buddy. Okay, guess I might as well dive in here since there's only 3 tanks left and we're only down 1 tank. I was being a little bit too cautious there. Nonetheless, though, a decent match, got a bit of damage in, but maps like this, you just, of course, have to be a little careful that you don't run around into, say, a heavy tank, because even though you have the higher DPM, they're potentially going to get a bounce, and they have usually higher alpha guns than you, and really that's where the M48A1 and the Centurion Action X here kind of struggle. But all in all, decent match. Okay. I guess I got 7,000 wins. Woo! Way to go. I was not expecting that. Another Mastery Badge 3rd class here. Damage-wise, 3,153. Experience-wise, a little bit lower. Top 4 on my team. All in all, pretty decent match. Deflected 1 shot and 1,100 damage. A little surprising that they were shooting those heat rounds at me in the beginning. Must have been pretty expensive for that Object 140. But all in all, it's a really good tank. I very much enjoy it. I've been looking forward to it for some time. It took me a little bit longer than I wanted to get it after it was released, and unfortunately it took me a little bit too long to get it since I don't exactly have the opportunity to get the FV4202 Premium now. But in any event, it's well worth the grind. And comparing it to M48A1, I know I was a little hard on the M48A1, but really, outside of Clan Wars, since most people don't do that, and stuff like tank companies and strongholds, the grind before the Centurion, it definitely hits a snag at the Centurion 1 and the unupgraded Centurion 7/1. But really, all in all, the British line is very good for mediums to push through. It's just really those two tanks. This one unupgraded, and this one in general is a little hard to play. But the American line, first medium tank line, I pushed up. As far as these tanks go, pretty well here. All the way through, starting at the M4, you can choose between the E8 and the E2. T20 is fun, Persian fun, M46 Patton, pretty fun upgraded, but starting out it's a little slow, much like the Centurion 7-1. But all in all, both very good. And the Centurion just nudges it out a little bit, I feel like, because of that accuracy. The M48A1 Patton had a bit more DPM than its little bit that it has over it, or even if it had 0.01 or 0.02 more accuracy, be a different story. But right now, Centurion Action X, great tier 10 medium and very fun tank to play. In any event, thanks for watching this, and feel free to subscribe here on YouTube, or you can support me in the upper right hand corner using fan funding. Otherwise, feel free to check out my websites, wattguru.com and also menzgaming.com. Thanks for watching.